Hey, Bronco Nation. Welcome back to Bronco Talk. My name is Nick Wade, and I'm joined, as always, by Sam Gillette of Sam Talk Sports. Today, we're talking Boise State women's tennis and a season that will go down as one of the most important in program history.
That's right, Nick. Our guest today is Boise State head coach Beck Roghaar, who just who just led the Broncos' share of the Mountain West regular season championship, and that's the first in program history. Program's first regular season conference title since 2011 as well.
The Broncos finished 18-3 overall, 10-1 the Mountain West Conference play, swept weekly conference awards earlier this season, and now head to Las Vegas as the number 2 seed in the Mountain West Conference tournament with another championship on the line. Coach Roghaar, thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations on a historic season.
Thanks so much, guys. We're having a blast and can't wait to get after the tournament this week.
All right, Coach, let's start with the headline: a share in the Mountain West regular season title, the first in program history. I got to admit, last week during our Bronco Nation Live, I wrote down the notes, and when I heard those words come out of my mouth, the first in program history, I kind of did a double take, and I felt like I was having a stroke there because you guys have been so successful that it just blew my mind. That was the first regular season title as a head coach. When that final point went down in Logan, what did that moment mean for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible moment. Without a doubt, I feel like it's never lost on me how much blood, sweat, and tears have gone into this program, and so many great players, over the years that have been here and continued to build. The legacy that they've left has allowed us to accomplish, what we did this year. And we have an incredibly special group. This team that we have this year is just a phenomenal bunch of players, a phenomenal bunch of human beings, student athletes, to the letter of that. And so I'm so proud of them, and it couldn't have happened to a better group or a more deserving group. And I'm so happy that they were able to accomplish this. But it makes me think back to a lot of the teams that we've had here over the years that have, knocked on the door there and, continued to push our program forward. But, we're starting to see the fruits of that labor, come out in championships right now over the last 2 seasons. And so it's incredibly special.
And now that you've secured your second regular season title, one of those obviously in the WAC as a head coach, and this one came on the road with everything on the line. How proud are you of the way that your team handled that pressure?
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job. I mean, our leadership on this team is elite. And, as a coach, you prepare for these matches and you prepare your players for these matches, hopefully all season long, beginning in the fall, and you continue to build that year over year. But the way that this team approached going after the championship, like really hunting it, attacking it, like wanting to go take what we felt like was ours on the road. I just love the mentality of our group. And it started at the top with Zdena Safarova, who you guys spoke with a couple weeks ago. And just her mindset towards, expecting to win and expecting great things to happen. And so I really think she's done a great job impressing that on our team. And our team has done a phenomenal job of just really believing in each other and trusting each other. And so a really special moment, and I really feel truly this team deserved it. And I love their mentality towards it. And I love their mentality towards this week down here in Las Vegas right now. So we're excited for more.
10 conference wins, most Boise State has ever had in the Mountain West. From your perspective, what separates this team from some of the very good teams that you've coached in the past?
Yeah, it's a tough league. It really is. I mean, in our sport, 10 wins in this conference is really difficult. 1 week you're playing at 7,200 feet in Laramie, Wyoming, indoors on lightning fast courts. And the next week you're, in Fresno and it's 100 degrees and the slowest courts you've ever played on in your life. And so, that juxtaposition and having to adjust and be able to adapt to that, I think that's one really big thing that this team has been phenomenal at is just accepting whatever challenge is that day and being willing to adjust and adapt. And, we say that often in our program, athletes adjust, and, and they've just done a phenomenal job each week of preparing themselves for whatever different challenge might come our way, in addition to not only a great team across the net, so they've just been locked in. I think they come to practice, they come to train every day. They love the sport, and they really just enjoy that process a lot. And I think they're pretty locked in on what it takes, Monday through Thursday to be ready to go for whatever is going to present itself on Friday to Sunday when we're competing.
So just the fans a little look at everything. How do you prepare for that? You're in Boise. It doesn't get up to 102. You can simulate Wyoming fairly easy in Boise, but it's hard to simulate 102. How do you adjust to that and prepare for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It comes down to, I think, our fitness programming all year, and our strength and conditioning coach, our athletic trainer. We're having hydration testing the week of, going out to compete to make sure we're meeting the bar for where we're going to need to be to take those things on. So it's just, I feel like in our program, especially over the last, 4 or 5 years, it's just those little types of details have really been something that our administration's been pushing, that our strength and conditioning coaches, our health and wellness, agenda there. They've really pressed that forward in a lot of ways to allow our athletes across the board and in our sport as well, to really try to be as professional and as elite as you possibly can, as an athlete. So they're working hard in the weight room. They're working hard in their conditioning sessions, and, that's part of it. And then, for the altitude adjustments and things, there's a lot of things. It's less time, the ball flies. It's not just your lungs necessarily with the conditioning. It's, the ball flies differently up there at 7,200 feet, for example. And so, there's ways we can train that to take away some of the court, shorten the court a little bit, and try to make sure we're adjusted and ready. And then when we go on the road, we spend a good amount of time on the courts when we get there to make sure we're dialed and ready to go compete.
Awesome. Now, you've talked about taking what you deserve. When did you start to feel this group truly believed it was championship caliber?
Yeah, this group this year, I think, has built off of last year. So I think, there hasn't been a moment this year that I don't feel like our team has known that they're championship caliber, if I'm honest. I think we were young early in the season a little bit, with some new faces. We had some transfers come in, and a couple of new freshmen. And so we lost a couple of tight ones. We're 18-3 on the year, but we lost 2 of those 3 very, very early in the season. I think we were actually sitting at 1-2 to start off. And so, I think this team has learned a lot and learned very quickly. And so I don't think they ever felt like they weren't a championship caliber team. I just think they knew, and we all knew that we had a few things, we had to get our hands a little rougher before we were ready to go, to put championship rings on those hands, because they have to be rough, and I think that's something that this team has done extremely well. But I think it's built off of last year, when we were able to win the tournament and, take out Baylor in the first round of NCAAs. And, that was a moment for our program. That was a statement win. And again, I don't think a surprise for us, but at the same time, I think that's solidified in a lot of our players' minds and perhaps, the college tennis world's mind that we're here and we're a program, that has been on the rise and now is starting to get what we feel like we deserve.
Earlier this season, Boise State swept the Mountain West Weekly Awards. Zdena Safarova was right there. As you mentioned, we had her on our show recently, and you've said that, not only is she a good person, but what we could tell was she's humble, she's a great teammate, and she is very confident. She knows what, she has her goals set, and she knows that they're within her reach, and I don't doubt her for a second that she's going to get everything she's got. But you also have Carla Grignac as a freshman. She won Freshman of the Week. She's actually just secured that honor back-to-back weeks. Actually, the announcement came out just a little bit ago today.
Yeah.
So what does that say about both of your top end and your depth?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm right there with you, brother. Z deserves everything that she's got, and so much more. There's not a player in the country that works harder than her, and just, her process and her mindset and the ability that she has. I mean, she's an incredibly special player, and she's really rewritten the history books since the day she walked in the door here and has continued to do that humbly, has stayed hungry, knows that she's got so much more to accomplish, not only here, but in this sport beyond. And I'm just incredibly proud of her. You won't meet anybody who does it better. And so, she's been absolutely a blessing in our program. And as you said, a great teammate and a great leader. And, so we're incredibly proud of her and all she's accomplishing. But we know we're far from done with her as well. So, we're sticking with the process every day to try to help her accomplish not only what we can here in the program, but beyond, because she does have goals to play professionally, as do a lot of the players on our team. And so that standard for how our team operates in training every day has just risen through the roof. And, our trainings have been a blast. As a coach, you're just laying out things in front of them that are really tough and challenging them, and watch them knock them down and continue to grow their confidence and get better. It's been a really special process there. And, Carla coming in this first year has learned so much so fast, and so, yeah, she's been playing 6, and as you mentioned, lots of Freshman of the Year awards, and well-deserved there. She's no doubt, one of the top, if not the top freshman in the conference, and she has so much more to grow as well. And so, that depth has been awesome. We've been winning a lot at all spots in the lineup, but, you really make your money down low in a lot of those matches where it's on the line, because, there's so much parity up at the top of the lineup, because everybody, up there is pretty experienced and knows how to play the game. So it's been awesome to watch Carla grow, and she's just done a phenomenal job. And especially, I feel like the last 3-4 weeks, she's kind of locked into a different mode that's going to make her, incredibly special for us, and continue to not only produce points on the board, but, to help elevate our standard and to help her accomplish her goals, which are also to go play professionally when she's done.
Zadina clinched at #1 singles multiple times this year, including rallying from a set down to beat Air Force earlier in the season. What makes her so reliable in those pressure moments?
Yeah, the bigger the moment, the bigger she plays. I think she does what all great players do, which is, believe in herself, expect to win, and she plays to win. She definitely goes for it when it matters the most, and that's something that's sometimes hard to teach. Hard to coach into somebody, but she plays her best when it's on the line. And so, I think that's only been magnified or multiplied, I guess, by her playing for the team and playing for the people around her that she cares so much about. So, she's just done a phenomenal job. But again, what allows her to play well there is her whole process, how she trains, how she loves the game. She eats, sleeps, and breathes it, and so I think it's one of those things where for her, her tennis IQ is very high, and she knows what to do at certain moments of the match when it's very important. And so, she's been phenomenal in those moments for us. And again, she's got teammates around her who are pushing her every day to continue to get better, to be able to play that way, when it's on the line, which is something special as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the depth of this team. When you look at Carla Grignac, steps in as a freshman, delivers immediate results at the #6 single spot and in doubles. What do you look for when deciding if a freshman is ready for that role?
That's a great question. A lot of the players that we're recruiting, they're elite players to begin with, right? To come to Boise State, you have to be a pretty darn good player. And so, she's had a lot of experience internationally, playing some really big junior events, and is one of the best players coming out of France and born in Senegal. So she's been around the block, so to speak. So even though she's a freshman, she does have quite a bit of experience. And I think just part of that transition into college tennis, it's different playing for a team. It's different. It's a different type of pressure from what you feel sometimes in the juniors, in those types of tournaments and events. And so I think really, just this fall, watching her really get her feet underneath her in that environment, and learning our double system, which was new to her, I think, and a bit different than a lot of players play in junior tennis. She's just been a quick learner, a very fast learner, and she's so passionate about the game and just a consummate teammate. I mean, she loves the group and just soaks everything up. I feel like she's such a sponge and always eyes wide open for what some of the returners and the older players on this team are doing. And she's very observant that way. And so I think she's learned quickly. And it's just led us to really feel very confident in her. And then when she's gone in, she's she's performed extremely well and continued to gain, momentum, confidence, experience, all those things throughout this season. And, she's a very different player today than she was when she walked in the door. And so I'm just proud of her evolution. And like I said, I mean, we're still tip of the iceberg for her. She's got so much more in her, and we're just excited to keep pushing and keep helping her grow and develop.
Yeah. How important is it to have both veterans and freshmen contributing at the same time, not just while you're chasing titles this year, but for years to come?
Absolutely. You're planting those seeds, and you're watering the garden and hoping everything continues to grow into something really special. And like I said, we couldn't have a better older group. We have a senior, Laura Ellis Marufo, who's been here 4.5 years, and her experiences and just, seeing this program grow and the story she can tell to teammates and the experiences she's had have been incredible, and she's made her mark here as well, and just, has done such a good job. But yeah, we've got a group of, 4 juniors on the team, and they do a phenomenal job of, helping show the younger ones the ropes. And then we're very fortunate that, both of our sophomores on the team right now, they were both, getting tons of experience in the lineup last year. Masha Variant was the player that clinched against San Diego State in the semifinals of conference in this heroic down 5-1 in the third set, epic battle. I mean, I think ChatGPT says the odds of winning that match are like 1 in 15,000 or something, and she got it done. And then she clinches against UNLV in the finals in epic dramatic fashion again, and then she clinches against Baylor, first round of NCAAs, and she was a freshman. And so her in the lineup now, she was at 5 and 6 last year, and now she's playing 3 and is a staple up there. And so, as you say, it that experience really helps players develop and gain their confidence. But we have so many players contributing in the lineup this year. I don't think we've ever had, you've got 6 singles players, and oftentimes those 6 singles players are the same 6 doubles players. And we've got 8 different players, 9 different players in the lineup almost every match. And so it's really cool because we do feel really good about, their futures here with the experience that they're getting this year. And, we're bringing in a great recruit, a great class for next fall as well. That's going to add a lot again. So, it's been really fun to see them continue to grow and develop and push each other. But, I don't think we've had a team that cares more about the team success than this group. Like, everybody's doing such a great job of knowing their role, knowing how they can contribute, and just being all-stars in those roles every day. And it's cliche, but it's amazing what you can accomplish, when nobody cares who gets the credit. It's pretty special.
Yeah, whenever we talked to Zadina earlier, it was hard getting her to talk about herself. She always brought it back around to the team.
For sure. She means it. She means it. She cares so much about this team and their success and our success as a program. And that was what we talked about before she came here. When she transferred in, that was part of the conversation was, hey, let's come here and let's rewrite the history books. Let's do something special, and let's leave a legacy, and let's change this program into what we know it can be. And, I think she just believes so much in the vision of this place and the people in this place that, she's done exactly that. And she's the first to give her teammates credit that they deserve too, because they're, everybody on this team is pulling a lot of weight right now.
Let's dig into the Utah State match. You take the doubles point, then Allison Isaacs extends the lead with her program record 17th singles win at number 4. How critical was that early momentum?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was huge. Down there in Logan, we played indoors. And so their indoor tennis complex only has 4 courts. So when you start on only 4 courts, if you're down the doubles point, you need to win a lot of matches, and so it's the same amount, obviously, when you're on 6 courts, but it just feels a little bit more pressure packed because, there's just not, it doesn't feel like there's as many opportunities to maybe jump out to faster leads, maybe at 5 and 6 singles where we have a lot of depth and can do some things. So to come out and get that doubles point was a huge momentum boost. Without a doubt. And I think our team knows how deep we are. They know that we're very, very difficult to beat in both doubles and singles. But when we get that doubles point secured, I know our confidence goes way up because we know, with any team in the country, we feel like we can find a lot of singles points out there as well. And so it was a huge step to get that first point. And then, it just continued to roll out there. Everybody, was, like I said, very focused to go do the job and attack the challenge that was in front of them. And I was so impressed with their mindset and just how everybody, whether, Teresa Polakova, she dropped the first set down there and then ended up coming back to clinch the match, just, found what she needed to find and then stuck to it, just, left, right, and center. So it was really cool. I mean, it was just a great boost for Dubs, but the singles, they continued to go to work and chip away. And I just thought they did such a nice job of, not just knocking on the door, but kicking it down to get through to get that title.
And then, you touched on it. Zdena wins at number 1. Teresa Polakova rallies at number 2. And suddenly you've clinched history. What stood out to you most about how your lineup responded?
I just think, again, their preparation, going into a match like that, sometimes it's easy to be a little bit edgy. It's easy to get a little bit ahead of yourself. It's, it's easy to get a little nervous if, you know what's on the line in that way. And, you talked about Allison Isaacs earlier, and she's just been a staple. And, her attitude is like, what's next? Give me something else to attack, put something else in front of me, and I'm going to go after it. And, Z up there and Terry just showing the resilience she did. I mean, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to win big matches. And I was so impressed with how they prepared, but how they attacked it mentally and really knew that they could get it done. And, we were doing it everywhere. When we won, clinched the match, we were up, a set in 1-0 at number 5, and we were up 3-0 in the first set at number 6. So we came ready. I'll say that, which was extremely impressive.
Going back to that, she won 18 matches overall this season, stretched her winning streak to 16. How does her consistency lies the middle of the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, she has been our most consistent without a doubt, and she's such a good player. She's such a good player, and coming in here, transferring in, we really saw some things that we thought were really special, in her when we were recruiting her in the portal, and just the way she thinks about the game. Again, another player that just eats, sleeps, drinks it, and loves it. Wants to play professionally, and so it's really, really important to her. And so that passion and kind of that energy. I mean, you can hear her from 18 courts away. You'll know that's Allison Isaacs over on court 12. She's our spark plug. She's just so much fun to watch compete. And I think that's such a big part of it. We talk a lot in our program about being a fountain, not a drain, and she's a fountain every day. She comes excited to be there. She comes with great energy. She's shouting, she's rallying the team all the time. And, she's just added a lot to our program this year. Not just on the court and producing, obviously, some really consistent, phenomenal results, but off the court too, because, she's just somebody that, you can count on every day to show up and give everything for the Broncos.
Yeah. You get in those championship matches, those winner go home type of situations. Let's shift the focus back onto you. Where are the coaches most nervous? In the doubles, the top court, or those middle courts where momentum can swing pretty quick?
That's a great question. Coaches are most nervous in the winter break. Coaches are most nervous in the winter break. You put in a ton of work over the fall. And then, the players will go home for 3 weeks, and that's how our sport is set up. And so, a lot can be gained in those 3 weeks, or a lot can be lost in those 3 weeks. And I think that's a lesson that I've, continued to learn throughout my career, is how important it is to recruit players that love this game, because when they go home, they're still training. They're out playing tournaments. They go to Monastir, Tunisia, to places to play tournaments, to earn professional points. And they're still out there doing that. And so, to be honest, I've never in my career felt more confident in a group, because not just because of what they do during the week to prepare for matches, but because of how they live, how they love this game and how they live and how they train and how they compete. And so that's been really special and really fun. But I don't know, like the nerves in matches, I feel excited. I love the start of matches. Doubles has a big energy to it. I'm not going to say I really feel a lot of nerves with this group, because I just see how they prepare. So it's more, can we go execute on the things that we need to? And And can we find the, both the joy and the struggle when you're out there competing, because you get both. And I think, college tennis coach is a heightened sense of living. It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows for sure. But I can't say I feel really nervous with this team. I feel excited to go out there and watch them do what they've worked so hard to do, throughout the fall, throughout the winter, and then all spring long as their confidence has continued to grow and what they're capable of. So, I don't know. I have a lot of fun with this group.
I think Bronco Nation takes for granted just how great, the tennis programs have been doing, and even on Luke's side of the deal. And like I was saying earlier, like I felt like I was stroking out during last week's Bronco Nation Live when I know that I wrote down the notes and then when I spoke them out, like this was your first regular season title. It just goes to show just how successful our programs have been. So really glad that you guys jump on these Bronco talks so that Bronco Nation can get a better acquaintance with you and how things work. And I really like how insightful that is about the winter break. I bet you that is a struggle. But you've been at Boise State long enough to build this program piece by piece. How would you describe the identity of the Boise State women's tennis right now? What's the recipe?
That's really, really good question. And I don't know if there's a short answer for that. I have been around a long time. Luke and I, played together here in the early 2000s, and we're fortunate to be a part of some really special teams that were able to accomplish some amazing rankings and titles and things like that. And I think for both of us, I think it just instilled this love of Boise State and what it can bring to you in your life. I think it just was such a positive experience for the both of us. On and off the court, that building here felt like something we're both extremely excited about, and so I think there's a lot of passion behind what we do, and there has to be a lot of patience. There's a lot of challenges in college athletics and building a program, and I think our vision has been extremely strong. I know, our vision has been very similar, for myself over the last 5 years, but it's been amazing to have, the support from our administration in some different ways, not just from a budget standpoint necessarily or something like that, although there's been, some help there for sure. But also just in the people that they've helped place around our program, with our strength and conditioning coaches and our trainer that's here with us on the road, that wasn't happening years back, and so it's like things like that really do make an impact and help our athletes be really, really successful. Those things are in place now. And so I think it just adds a level of professionalism and an elite mindset to what you're able to do and how our athletes feel. But, what's the culture of our team? We work really hard. We work really, really hard. We love the sport. We care about each other a lot in what's an individual sport. I'd say that separates us. Like a lot of teams will say, that they're close and they play for each other. But this team plays for each other, like really, and I think that's something that's not just on the wall or something that sounds fun to say to recruits. It's like these guys are working hard for each other and they push each other and they care about each other a lot. And so, I think that really does separate our program. If you look at some of the wins we've had over the past few years over some really highly ranked teams, we were the better team. We went out there and proved that we were the better team, and we played top to bottom in that lineup in a way that was blue collar and willing to do whatever it takes. And I think, our training is very intentional. I'd say that's something that is a big part of our culture. We don't just go out there and hit balls. Each player has a player development plan, and they're well aware of the things that they're working on and need to get better at. And, I would say I'm a very positive coach in a lot of ways, or I critique, don't criticize, but at the same time, we have players here that want to get really, really good. And so, there's an honesty that needs to be there for them to be able to accomplish their goals. And so it's just been really cool to see how these players have responded and wanted the information, wanted the knowledge as to what's going to help them get better. So I'd say we've got a group of learners, we got a group of hungry learners who love to compete and love to wear the blue and orange. So, Yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit, but they're just great people, great people that love this game and love Boise State University and love the staff around them, their coaches, their trainers, administration. I feel like, they really understand, this group really understands, all the support that they have behind them. And they understand that that's rare. And when it's real, like it is, that our people around them really, really care about them on and off the court. I think it inspires them to play great tennis and work really hard to accomplish, what they've set out to accomplish.
And great question, or great answer to that question. You kind of alluded into the next question I had, but you do coach a roster of international players, transfers, and homegrown talent. If you take Zdena, just for example, she comes to you from Prague via Oklahoma and then to Boise State. And saying what you just said about the culture and the identity of the team, is there a key to getting everyone pulling in the same direction and getting that mindset that we heard from Zdena about, caring for her teammates? Is there a key that you use? I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah, great people make great Broncos. I think with Z, like, for example, when she came here on her visit from Oklahoma, and the portal happens fast, it's not like you've got, 5-10 weeks to really get to know somebody. So, but, just when she came in, and I could say this for, the players that we have here, it's like, there's a feeling that you get after doing it for a while, when you can tell when people are really genuine. You can tell when people are going to be somebody who are fun to be around, somebody that you want to be spending time with, that you want to work with. I think also when you line up a lot of players that have, they're high achievers and they've got really lofty goals, so they want to be surrounded by other people who want those same things and who, care about them that much. And so I think when you get a lot of people doing that, obviously that's a big connector. But, there's also an aspect of competition, even within the team and things like that you can run into when you've got a lot of really, really good players. And that's where that character piece comes in, that I feel like, I think we do a really good job of not just caring about the player that can hit the ball, the best, or has the best ranking or rating or things like that. But, we find the players that can do that, but then also want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And we talk about that a lot up front, and we're very, very honest that way, that we're not for everybody, but we're for the players who want to come in and be part of that, and I think the players that see value in that and understand how that can help them in their journey, as well as, as their experience here during their time, I think it makes a lot of sense to them. They see it, and I can say that's true for Z. Within, 24 hours of her being here on her visit, I felt like she got it. She sees what we're about. She sees the value of the people here and the team and staff around this department and university. And so I think when people see it and they get it, we know it's for them, and we know they're for us, and so I think that's just a big key. The recruiting aspect is so important to get the right people on the bus, so to speak. But, I think we've done a really good job of that. And then when you've got great players here, other players, like I said, they want to come be around other great players. So, they're the best part of our program. Our players are the best part of our program. We talk about that all the time when we're recruiting, elite level tennis players. Is like, hey, look at who's here. Look at who's here, and you get to spend your time training and being around these people. And without a doubt, I couldn't be more proud of the group we have on and off the court. They are phenomenal people, phenomenal players, and grateful to be a part of their journey.
You've talked about not being afraid of the work it takes to be great. How do you teach that mentality day to day?
I think you've thrown some fun, man. I think that's really the thing. Is, like I said earlier, joy and struggle can coexist. You can be working really hard, and and we say it often in our practices, and the best team in the world is the one having the most fun. And so if you have the joy to go out there and do the hard work, it feels a lot less like hard work, doesn't it? I mean, it's one of those things where they'll push each other and they'll really compete hard and elevate each other. But at the end of the day, we're seeing how fun that can be. We really are. We're seeing how fun that can be. And I just am so proud of our group, for how the energy that they bring every day. Cause it isn't easy, it's easy to have a bad day now and then, but I think just the standard for our group and the standard and the expectation of, what it takes to continue to push ourselves to reach the goals that we have, which we talk about a lot, to keep in the forefront of our mind, but man, we have fun. We have a lot of fun. We do a lot of laughing. We do a lot of working hard. We do a lot of laughing, and I just think there's every great team that I've been fortunate to be a part of or coach, there's kind of that switch that you can hit. And this team has it, where it's like on the court, it's go, go, go. And we're working and and trying to accomplish and all those things. And then, before practice starts, they were playing hacky sack and soccer. And they're, the other day they brought these, they did an anything but water bottles practice. So just randomly out of the blue, they showed up, with like a vase or like a coffee, like, the coffee carafe or whatever. I mean, it was hilarious. So they just do stuff like this all the time. They're having fun. And then we got to work, and so I don't know. It's just the personality of this group is incredibly special. And, like I said, they're just the staff, my assistant coaches are just incredible people. And they're so fun. They bring such great energy to it. So I feel like when you get a lot of that around, it just, it's hard not to be grateful and enjoy what you're doing every day.
Yeah. As you continue this powerhouse program up to that national championship caliber program that everyone strives to get to at some point, what do you want opposing teams to feel when they see Boise State on that schedule?
Well, fear, we want them to fear us. That's what we want. No, we want them to know that they're going to be in a fight. That's really it. I think that's the mentality of our group is, win or lose, we're going to go out there and scrap and fight for every point. And, not in the ways of like, we're always the underdog, that's not necessarily true. We just want to go out there and battle. I think we got players that love that and love to compete. And so, that is, I think, what our team does and does well. And so I think if you were to, pull the competition, so to speak, I think they'd say that we're always going to be a tough out. We're never going to, go down without a fight. And we're a handful for sure. And so, I think, and you're right. We are trying to continue to build this place and reach further and further each and every year. And I truly believe we can win a national championship here at Boise State. Are we there yet? No. Are we working towards it? Absolutely. Have we made a lot of great progress? Without a doubt. But the support that we have here and the support that we're gaining and the momentum that we're gaining, the players that we have coming in and the staff that we have, just the value of what I think players can gain here. We're far from a finished product, and we're going to keep pushing and, 15, 16 years in, whatever it is for me, like I've never been more excited, at what we have ahead of us and what I think the opportunities are for this program. And so, we're fired up to keep plugging and keep fighting and keep going. And, it's been awesome here. So we're really excited to continue.
Now it's on to Las Vegas. Boise State enters the Mountain West tournament as the number 2 seed with the first round bye. I believe that you guys are going to square off against the winner of the Nevada-Colorado State match, and you'll be playing on Thursday. But you'll be enjoying that first round bye, which is nice. How does that positioning help or challenge you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's great not to play 4 matches in 4 days. That's tough. We've done it. We've done it, and it's not easy. And it's one of those things where when you can secure that first round bye, it's definitely without a doubt helpful. So yeah, we'll be excited. We get a chance to scout that match the day before, and obviously those are 2 opponents we know very well. So it's just good to be able to get down here. We're here today, get some training in at in these conditions. It's always windy down here in Las Vegas. it's hot, the conditions can be a little bit different that way, but our team loves it here. They were talking today how much they feel like this is home courts for them in so many ways. And so, they have a lot of experience down at this tournament and at our fall qualifier that's played at the same site. So, no, we'll be ready, but it definitely, 3 matches in 3 days and what we accomplished last year. I think our team understands the path and understands, what that takes and the preparation and mindset that it takes to do that. But the first and foremost piece of that is that, we play either Colorado State or Nevada first match, so I can promise you our team is not looking ahead of that. They're gearing up for Thursday, and then that's the only thing on their mind. So they do a great job of keeping the main thing and understanding, how to win a tournament is 1 point at a time. So it's going to, that's what we're going to be focused on over the next couple of days.
And, from your vantage point, being the coach, with UNLV and San Diego State tied at the top as well, how thin are the margins between winning the tournament and going home early, especially if you later on down the line meet one of those two teams?
Yeah, margins are always thin, against ranked teams in college tennis, which those two programs are, as well as us. I mean, margins are always thin, we beat San Diego State when they were number 31 in the country this year, and we beat them 4-2, and then we lost 4-3 to UNLV, and that comes down to, I think, a matter of an inch or two. And the doubles point at UNLV, I mean, we were in great positions and, missed just close and some things like that. And, it's definitely the margins are thin. But also I think our team is extremely confident that, we play well when those margins are thin and that we know what to do in those moments, and we're going to meet those moments the way that we need to. And so, I'm just excited for them, and great programs. Like I said, great programs that we love to compete against. And so we'll be ready to go, as I'm sure they will be too. And it'll be exciting to get out there, on Thursday for that first round match and really, get the tournament underway. We can't wait.
And Thursday, you start your defense of your Mountain West championship. Does experience matter more in the postseason, or is it like college basketball and March Madness with whoever's the hottest is going to get some upsets and make some noise?
Yeah, I mean, I think either or for us. We've been pretty hot down the stretch here, for sure. We've won a lot of matches coming into this tournament, which I think is definitely, a good place to be. Without a doubt, that confidence helps. But I'll say for sure that the experience piece of having players that, have done it before and have done it successfully before, have played a lot of big matches in college tennis. There's definitely a mindset that comes along with that, a maturity that comes along with that is you can't really replicate without being there, And so I think it's probably a PC answer here is that it's a combination of both. But I'll say the experience that we had last year here, and then seeing how our team has talked about the tournament and approached the tournament, and the meetings that they're having with themselves, talking amongst themselves, not just what the coaches are trying to instill in them and help them to prepare for this tournament. It's been elite. It's been elite. And I think that doesn't happen unless you've got that experience. So I'll probably lean a little bit more towards that side.
All right. What's the biggest emphasis for your team between now and that first serve in Vegas?
Process, our normal process. It's another match. A lot of times at this point in the season, as you kind of alluded to earlier, it could be the last match, or it could be the last, for our seniors, like this could be the end of their careers. Like there's so many things that could creep in, and you have to do a really, really good job of staying very, very focused and present in the moment. And so today's practice was today's practice. We talked about that today. The match isn't for another couple of days. Like today's practice is about the prep that we're doing right here, right now, and so just staying really present. And like I said, times where you lock in, times where you need to be very focused and intentional and intense about what you're doing. And then, they head back to the hotel, and it's not that anymore. It's time to relax. It's time to be with each other in a different way and just enjoy each other's company and go to dinner and, laugh and have fun about, what all the different things that go on in our team. We've got a bunch of characters, like I said. So it's a lot of fun. But I think that process, it's, we have to look at it as just another match and really prepare ourselves for the challenge that match will bring across the net, not necessarily the situation of that match. I think our team has done a great job of that, and it's allowed us to perform really well.
Yeah. It seems like you got a group of fighters there that are pushing for that championship mentality. Do you ever have to tell them to take a break and focus on themselves?
All the time, Sam. I feel like it's which is a great problem to have. I feel like, I've got a lot of coaching buddies that maybe are on the other end of that, or that, I feel like, or, maybe been there in myself in different times in my career. But right now, this group they love it, like I said. And that's what we've really turned the focus to in our recruiting, is we want players here that love playing tennis, and so it's telling them, hey, like, you got to take today off, and they'll moan and groan at you a little bit, or, but it's that experience, that you've had as a coach doing it for a long time, of like, also a team that's fresh at the end of the year is one that's going to be successful at the end of the year too. And so, they're so receptive. I mean, they don't really moan and groan. They're so receptive. If they feel like it's going to help them perform well, our team's about it. And so, but yeah, definitely this team will push. Definitely this team wants to be out there training and getting better. And so, kind of the periodization of all the training and all the competing and all the things, from a coaching perspective, that part's really important. And I think this team's done a really good job of it. But it is definitely a passion of theirs. So they'd rather be on the court than probably anywhere else.
Well, let's move into a lightning round. We do it with the players. Might as well do it with the coaches as well. And let's just kind of get the fans a chance to get to know who the real Beck is.
Okay.
Under fire. We'll do a lightning round. If you don't want to answer a question, you can say pass, and we'll move on to the next. All right, let's get rolling. Favorite warm-up song?
Favorite warm-up song is probably going to be a throwback to one that was on the playlist for 4 years when I was playing at Boise State, but it's going to be Mr. Brightside by the Killers. Every day of practice started with that. So if that song comes on, I'm immediately locked into, like, we're at practice now, and here we go.
Favorite Boise restaurant?
Ooh, probably Matador. I love Matador. Some $5 or $7 happy hour nachos down there. I'm game.
All right. Does pineapple go on pizza?
I love pineapple. It doesn't belong on pizza. Favorite fruit, great food, don't go together.
Stanley or Owala?
I'm going to have to probably go. Oh, that's tough. I got more Owalas at the house with my kids. But my wife's got a Stanley. I've got a Yeti myself, so I don't know if that's an answer, but I'm probably a Yeti guy or Mir. I like a Mir water bottle as well.
But kind of the next question, Yeti or Arctic? So we got that answer.
Yep, you got it.
Fry sauce or ketchup?
Ketchup. Not a mayo fan.
Favorite non-tennis sport to watch?
You know what sport I really love to watch, and I didn't know it existed for a long time, but handball. It's kind of like a cross between soccer and hockey, and played with a ball. Like, I love watching handball. I feel like I wish that would have been around when I was a kid. I love that sport.
All right. I have not heard that one yet. Favorite ice cream brand?
So I'm going to go with, this is kind of a different one maybe, but Farr's Ice Cream in Ogden, Utah, where I grew up. It's a little mom and pop shop downtown Ogden. If you're ever driving down 84 on the way to Salt Lake or somewhere like that, stop in at Farr's Ice Cream. It's a good one.
All right. Snow or beaches?
Probably beaches. I love snow. I love all seasons, but nothing like sitting by the water.
All right. Your favorite tennis venue you've either played or coached in?
Man, that's a great question. I mean, there's probably Flushing Meadows, where the U.S. Open's played in New York. That place is extremely special. The size of that stadium and just the energy in that place is unreal. So I'd have to go with Arthur Ashe Stadium in the U.S. Open.
All right. And then finally, if you're stuck on an island, what 3 items do you bring?
My family. This is tough. I'm like a guy that needs to know, like, well, is there trees? Like, do we have shade? Do we have water? I got to know all the things. But I'd take my family. I'd probably take, I'll probably take some sort of survive, like an axe, something to take care of yourself with a little bit. And then I'd maybe go with a giant yacht to get myself off the island. How about that?
There we go. Yeah, yeah. We've had people say, cell phones and homes and all kinds of different things.
Fair, yeah. Those are all good things too.
Because if they
All
got their
right.
home, they don't need to leave.
That's true. That's a good point.
People.
That's what I mean. You got to talk about, like, what's the situation on the island, Yeah.
All right.
Well, Coach, with everything the program has accomplished and still in front of it, I always ask this before we wrap. What's your message to Bronco Nation, and what's next for the Boise State women's tennis program?
No, I appreciate that opportunity. We love this community. We have an unbelievably special community here in Boise. It's a big reason why our players, end up staying here so often, and love this place so much and love their experience so much, is because of the people of Boise and the people around Boise State athletics and Bronco Nation. It truly is different here, and I've been in college athletics now a long time. I've coached at some other institutions, and after I was a player here, I just thought everywhere was like this, and then getting a chance to understand and experience what college athletics is in a lot of different places, it hits you like a ton of bricks that not everywhere is like this, and I think that's incredible. And I think probably the greatest gift, what I would say to Bronco Nation, I guess, is the greatest gift that you can give, an 18, 22-year-old is their time. And so, we have a huge goal for this program in terms of our attendance, not monetary support, not looking for donors on that side, just really wanting people, tennis players in the community here in Boise, Bronco Nation in general, to come out and check out matches. These athletes are at the top of their sport in the world. I mean, so many of these players here that you'll get to see for free at the Appleton Tennis Center behind you there, Nick, is, they'll be out on the pro tour soon. And, I just think about the support that how much that support actually impacts their experience here. And, I think back to, 2005 when we hosted the NCAA championships here, the first 2 rounds my senior year. And, we had 2,000 people out to watch that match. And those are moments I'll never forget. 2,000 people screaming and yelling at the Appleton Tennis Center. Probably a big reason why I'm a college coach, why I wanted to continue to serve college tennis players. And so, I really would ask that Bronco Nation comes out and checks it out, because, Sam, you were talking about this earlier too. It's like, you don't always know all the different parts or all the different things about what maybe college tennis is, or volleyball, or some of the different Olympic sports. But not only the storylines, not only the players and the that are out there playing, but, there's drama. It's fun. College tennis isn't like Wimbledon. You don't have to sit on your hands and be quiet and eat strawberries and cream. Like, you screaming and yelling, and it's a blast, And so I hope that people who maybe haven't come to check out a match will come check out a match, and we're obviously done at home this year. But plenty of opportunities in the fall when we host, tournaments in the fall, and then next spring in our dual match season, we'll have 10 to 12 home matches. And I just really encourage people to come check it out, because it really is incredible. And these players thrive on the support that they get out there, and it really does make a big difference for us. But it's a huge goal and a huge next step for our program to compete at the most elite national level, is to have more fans out there in the stands. And I think if people come once, they'll come again, because it's a blast to watch, and it's so much fun. So that's my ask to Bronco Nation, is if you haven't come out, come out. If you have come out, keep coming out, continue to support. And there's not a better group of players that you can get behind, or a better group of people that you could give your time to and make an impact on.
Beck Roghaar, conference champion, program builder, the coach behind one of the most historic seasons Boise State women's tennis has ever seen. Coach, congratulations again on the Mountain West regular season title. best of luck as the Broncos head. I mean, you guys are already there in Vegas, chasing another championship. Really appreciate you coming on the show. I know I bumped into you a couple times on the Blue during some of the football championships, but really blessed to have you on the show tonight.
No, likewise. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and love what you guys do. Keep doing it, please. We love it and appreciate your support and all you give to the Broncos. So thanks so much, you guys.
For Sam Gillette, I'm Nick Wade. This has been Bronco Talk. We'll see you next time. Take care and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Community matters, and Blue Elevation proves it. Partnering with Boise State athletes, we bring joy to families in need. Like our Christmas on the Blue Outreach, blessing children from the Boise Rescue Mission. Together with Bronco Nation, we spread cheer, hope, and support at home and abroad. Blue Elevation, where community and compassion meet. Give at bronconationupdates.com/become.